Yeah.
From the deep. Hello, everyone, and
From
welcome
the deep.
to Chat from the Deep, a weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. The chat for session 50. So if you've not watched that session yet, please go do that because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me we have Gottwald's player, Chris,
Hello.
Max player, Raymond.
Hello.
We have finally defeated this area, the zone. Hopefully it was still climactic. While still me definitely wanting to be done with it. So I didn't necessarily pull out like all the stops that Tentrix had in his possession and everything. I was trying to maintain that level of like I
Did he
wanted.
not have? Did you decide that he didn't have legendary resistance at some point? Because I fully expected him to.
You know what? He didn't have it baked into his stat block.
Okay.
And a lot of bosses don't, and I give it to them.
Yeah.
And when that moment happened, that's when I really made that decision of like,
Yeah.
maybe this is how I help balance this fight a little bit. And we just had that moment where it's like, oh wait, you technically took 2 reactions. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I should. So a give and take there. Normally bosses, especially if it's Caliber, definitely have legendary resistance, but
Right. But he didn't as written.
he didn't. Well, a lot of them don't, as written, I find.
Oh.
So a lot of creatures, I guess, that are elevated to boss status through the story, their stat blocks aren't given that legendary resistance, and I usually have to apply that.
Okay.
Versus creatures that are like, dragons or something that would normally have legendary resistance.
Yeah. So as far as the adventures are written, it's usually more baked into the creature more than it is baked into the character narratively.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yep. So yeah, you guys once again performed very well. Wasn't really doing much damage to you guys. It was still mostly minions, the hard stat block Scummer, which you guys shut down pretty effectively. In fact, I don't even think he got a full. I didn't think it did much of anything. You guys just beat up on him. And then Wolfgar, the guy who came out with the prisoner, was a big stat. Literally, Tentrix is just a stronger version of that stat block. He's also a Kraken priest. So
is he? Okay.
Very similar like power sets and stuff. But you guys did a good job of beating up on him. And then, yeah, the minions were just there to get the shit kicked out of him, so.
Right.
But kept things interesting thanks to Savra's insane chaos with the wand, which was delightful, and ended up doing the majority of the damage tonight, I think.
Yep, I think so.
Poor Gottwald.
Yeah, I will say I'm a little not upset.
You kind of lost the moment.
I'm a little disappointed that like my character's subplot doesn't involve him at all at the end. But again, we couldn't have anticipated what the Wand of Wonder was going to do.
Yeah, and there wasn't a good way of.
No, there wasn't.
I panicked for a second because I had that whole psychic cutscene with Tentrix, and I'm like, oh crap, Reese is about to shoot him off the side of the building.
Right.
So how do I do? So I just kind of cheated and said like, well, he gets shot over to the railing and then clutches, and then that thing happens. So
yeah.
I did realize that. I'm like, I don't know what else to do though. Like your character's unconscious, nobody's even stabilized you yet, like, and people are beating up on.
I had a moment of hope before Reese went, where I was like, okay, maybe if Reese misses and Kish misses, Borges can run up and potion Gottwald. The Gottwald will get up and then do something.
Yeah.
But that would have required Toril and Kish to both like not hit.
Yeah, and Toril's like, I'm laser focused on taking out.
Yep.
Which would have been
there.
Good.
Was a huge fireball in the way too. I'm like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing.
I'm not running in there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't blame the DM. I blame Heather. She did all the damage to us this session.
Yeah.
That Wand of Wonder was
did a lot more damage to you guys. She did do damage to Tentrix, but both times Tentrix actually made the save. So both times he took like maybe 18 or 15 damage, whatever it was. But then it spread out to all of you guys and did some nasty amounts of damage. Impressively, Toril still didn't go. He kept Big B's tentacle up for like 2-3 sessions, whatever it was.
That's
like
wild.
Just kept that concentration going. Which actually I think I forgot to have him roll concentration every time he took damage from Heather stuff at the very end. But his con saves are sick. Like he basically never loses concentration.
It almost wouldn't have mattered.
It almost wouldn't have mattered. So instead you have to take him down, and man, he got so close and got real low at the end.
Yes.
Just with those AoEs, because with the mirror image and with his AC, I was never gonna like be able to target him and take him down fully, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't end up running Tentrix terribly optimized. I think he laid down well, and you shut him down pretty good too. He laid down his one Hunger of Hadar or whatever that spell's called, Everett's Black Tentacles.
Tentacles, yeah.
Yeah, and then you immediately shut him down, which turned off that spell and left him incapacitated. Right. And then you're basically able to close in on him. And I think from there it was he did that attack on you, which downed you. Then he came out. Then I did have that one moment where he came out and I had like one turn left. Where he survived, and I was like, all right, this I could really figure out what he could, because he's got a couple spells he could do, and there's options. But I did kind of lean into the RP of like, well, at this point he's almost dead. He is like desperation mode. He'd just be flinging off, auto attack spells or something. I did briefly thought about turning around and just damaging you like twice and making it real dicey with the death saves.
Yeah.
But you went down so early, it wasn't even like this big animosity thing. So it doesn't make any sense for him to do that. Like he needed to take out the other guys.
It wasn't like the end of the fight when I got taken out. It was mid fight. So it was like, not even really, And
that was like the one time that Mac like took a pretty nasty bit of damage there from that Firebolt attack or Thunderbolt. And that's the thing is that weirdly the Kraken Priest, he's got a couple of cool spells, but also his like basic attacks are really strong.
Yeah.
They do all that like lightning and thunder.
Was it the touch thing? The touch of thunder or whatever?
He's got the thunder touch, which is like 5d6 or something crazy. And then he's got that lightning bolt, which is like 2 different dice rolls of damage. So pretty. And you guys basically fought 2 of those. And one of them was like a jacked up boss monster of that version. Scummer, who was a jacked up Slod. The Merid was a Merid, but was kind of a weird, not full combatant.
Oh, right. The way you're playing them.
Yeah, and then you fought just a bunch of like minion level guys. I loved Sava rescuing Sambalay. So I mentioned, by the way, last week, if you recall, there was 2 events that I was going to throw at you guys as kind of a monkey wrench in the whole combat. One of them was the ship crashing in to the lair and introducing the allies and killing a bunch of guys. And the other one was the fact that these guys had captured Sambalay, and that's how they had all this intel on you. And then there was an event where Tentrix would call out to bring the prisoner out and do that dramatic, like, hey, with knife to the throat kind of maneuver.
Right.
You guys need to stand down and all of this, which obviously I know you guys wouldn't, but it just adds to the tension and like, how do they solve this problem?
I wasn't sure how Sabra was going to react because she's been very like, I don't give a shit about people up in, most of the time. So I was almost like, oh no, like, is she gonna like just straight up let him die? But she's like, no, I got a way to get.
And I was fully prepared to kill people off, like for sure in this situation. So yeah, I was. That's why.
You didn't have any like, in terms of Sambalay, you didn't have any like back pocket things. Like if we hadn't saved him, he would have died.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to kill him in this situation.
Yeah. Which honestly wouldn't have been the worst end for an NPC. Like he's been helping us through the end, and he dies in the third act. That seems for a lot of movies that's appropriate.
Right.
I debated if we should even save him because he betrayed us.
Yeah, that's the reckoning you can kind of have.
He told him everything.
Right.
Like, what's the point of keeping him alive anymore?
Right.
Yeah, so that was the other event I wanted to introduce. But I was very impressed that Heather was like, I'm going to use my literal last spell slot to warp Sambalay to safety. I was like, damn, which ended up working out in the favor because he was a combatant. He was a spellcaster and he had his spells available as soon as he was unbound, so he could start firing off spells. So that was the other. I like the way you guys literally acquired allies throughout this battle. Like you started off with just the 4 of you, then your 3 allies from the ship are added, then you rescue Sambalay, so you have a 4th ally, and then at the very end you get the Merid technically as an ally for like 1 round, enough to like snuff out the fire. Basically, I was panicking trying to figure out like, okay, how do I do
really
this?
Not have any healing?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, that's
yeah.
GDs in 5e are so bizarre because like
they're
very
not limited. Like
they're very
spells,
limited. Yeah,
I guess. So he's got
they're
like
more like combat creatures. Yeah,
he's got like create water and like just various like specific.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's not a whole lot of combat. Like his best combat move is the one I kept on doing, which is just shooting that water jet.
Water jet, yeah.
But he does have a big teleportation spell, and I thought this is how I'm going to deal with this whole situation, because we're at a point now where I don't care about travel, random encounters, any of that. We want to be in the end game. We're linear. We're going. So this,
I was wondering where you were going to take us.
Yeah,
I was like, are we going back to the Sword Coast to like rest up and set off for the the big boss? But no.
But even then,
like,
I was like,
no,
I didn't want to do that. I just want to get you guys to like the location you guys need to get to. So that was my whole goal with him. Technically, he has the plane shift spell, which takes another plane, which is why I mentioned like going through the elemental plane of water. Real quick.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna make that be like a montage of going through, and then you are deposited in the space you need to go.
Yeah.
But that was always the goal. Is like, hey, you guys need to get which is why I was very forthcoming about the merit and introducing that helpful personality, basically.
Well,
to get that
had we did we have a way out of the situation? Had we not helped the merit? Like, what would we have done if we had
I don't know, man. I would have... Thankfully, because this fight took a while, I had a couple sessions, I guess, to figure that out. But from the very beginning, you were on board with that, so I felt pretty confident. But had people been like, no, fuck this merit, let's start trying to kill this guy.
That's true. If like 3 weeks ago, if the fight had gone a different direction, you might have...
What I probably would have done is...
a different way out.
Yeah, is create like some kind of magic item that was in Tentrix's way that allows him to like teleport back to the main base or something.
Right, that would be,
And then you guys grab that and all get teleported.
Mm-hmm.
Backup plan. But I liked.
Assuming you don't burn it first.
That was the thing. Like, we've had.
Now, did we lose any magic items? Because we just.
This happened like with the last when you guys did the ship battle, right, with Desecratus, and like the whole ship was also coming apart and getting destroyed, and you were trying to grab the loot. And this time there wasn't even a chance to do that. It was like we just got to get the fuck out of here. So there was loot in multiple areas throughout this dungeon, but because we turned into a big fight and we didn't have any chance to loot anything, and the whole place was being destroyed, then. No, you didn't really get anything out of it, which is the consequence of basically coming in and setting the whole damn place on fire and burning it down. So not so much of a chance to sneak around and grab the loot. In fact, there was a whole section in the first level. It was like a workshop section with another mini boss in there that I just didn't include her because we had plenty going on. But she has a bunch of basically red barrels that are explosive.
Oh,
so I forgot about that here, but I could have flavored that where even if you guys had found them, you could have set these off too, but that would just cause huge explosions.
Sure.
Basically,
to stabilize it more.
Yep. So I was careful about not introducing too much more. I didn't necessarily play Tentrix up, and I didn't have legendary actions or layer actions, by the way, which I thought about introducing. Throughout the last 2 sessions, and ultimately was like, there's enough going on.
Well, I'll say this. I feel like the way you played it, which is totally valid and may not be the way he was originally written, but like there's different types of bosses, right? There's the type of boss that's like one boss and he's just so powerful. He's got all these abilities and he's got layer actions, whatever. But then there's like the minions boss who's more defined by who's around him, right? So Tentrix very much felt like a minions boss where he didn't have he himself was, he was powerful enough.
Once he got exposed,
But once he got exposed, he wasn't that powerful. He was more defined by the waves of minions that he had surrounding him.
Balance-wise, it just, you guys fought your way through so many things and creatures and hours long of sessions to reach him. It would have been crazy if he had done... My initial plan was for him to summon like this whole other big Kraken-type creature and have this huge showdown with all these things going on, and I nixed all of that thinking like there's enough going on here.
They're at the end of their rope.
They're at the end of their rope, and Savra is providing enough of a counterbalance for all of the missed attacks that I got that I'm feeling just fine about everything that's going on so far. So I think it ended up feeling perfectly well balanced. Obviously, it was not my intention to have this be a one big giant battle that's going to last.
In your mind, how did you imagine we were going to? How did you imagine that we would do this base without aggroing the whole dungeon at once? Because I wasn't here for when they started.
Yeah,
so I honestly don't know how it started. But
I tried my best to explain to the players when they were interrogating the giant that there's a constant changing of the guard. There's always people coming and going. It's very easy, relatively, to infiltrate the area. The only issue is that all of you guys are infamous, so you'd have to be able to disguise yourselves somewhat to be able to get in there. But if you can do that, then it's actually pretty easy because there's very few people that are regulars here. Basically, it's just like, hey, my fellow Black Armadas, like it's
right. Nobody knows anybody.
Yeah, so you could do it more of a deception social thing. But the party was not super interested in this plan. And it just kind of fell apart basically instantly in terms of the try to deceive our way in there. So it ended up being just kind of turning into a big fight. But that was
yeah.
And I was trying to like basically lean towards that as a method because I wasn't sure you guys would necessarily realize that was going to be a plan. But basically, it was very lightly defended because most of the defense you guys had already made it through with Driftwood Docks, and the fact that they don't necessarily know each other. I mean, it's a pirate enclave. It's not like a fucking Star Wars Imperial base where they're all very bureaucratic and fascist or anything. It's all very just laissez-faire and not a whole lot of organization here, just bare minimum. But and the other reason why a lot of them didn't fight to the death, if you notice, whenever people got injured, a lot of them fucked right off. Like I had a ton of people who were injured, they ran away, they escaped. Like, you know,
I appreciate that because I just shortened the time of the fight.
It shortened the time of the fight, but it is realistic. It wouldn't have
made the fight any more interesting. It was like, okay.
But these are not like evil cultists or zombies or whatever that would fight to the death. Like they would be like, oh no, fuck this. Yes. Like we can see the writing on the wall. We're getting the hell out of here.
If they're losing, they're not going to stick around to die.
That also occurred with Scummer, whom you also never took out. He
never showed back up. Yeah.
He's definitely kind of a Starscream for me, where it's like well, actually, this is interesting. So in the book, Slods have a control gem that you can use to control them, I guess, like a little item, and they get like implanted in their skull or something. I guess the other person has like a paired one. And Tentrix has that over Scummer, and that's how he controls them. And it says in the book, like, if the party can acquire that, then they get control of that. And I was initially on board with that, but then I realized I gave Tentrix the Merid conch and was going to do the whole Merid thing. And I was like, that's really dumb if I do both of those.
Two different
creatures that are, like, being enslaved by Tentrix and they can gain. So instead, I was like, let's eliminate that part of Scummer, but make Scummer super unloyal. And he's, like, literally like the Starscreamer, the classic, like, just scheming underling who like cuts and runs at the first chance that he gets. And so that's what happened here basically. My plan was like as soon as he sees things trying to turn the tide for him, he has the ability to cast invisibility on himself and he'll just fuck off and basically retreat. So in this case, whenever he got knocked, I think back out of the second floor down to the first floor, and you have a big sploosh of water, he never came up at. And the way I did that is like he turned invisible and just like got away basically. So he escaped in the end.
You booked it.
Yeah, so similar to a lot of the other enemies that you didn't actually take out.
I hope him and Flutemaster Billy are living a wonderful life on an island somewhere.
Yeah, so technically you didn't take out 2 of the pirate lords out of the 5. So he survived and the Frost Giant guy survived as well.
How many were there total?
I think there were 5 total. There were those 2. The Storm Maiden obviously had the big dramatic
we killed her, right?
Yep.
Okay.
The Desecratus was the Spirit Naga, or Bone Naga.
Right.
Spirit Naga, I think. The Naga, pirate ship killed her. And then Dirge was the Sahuagin Baron in the Underwater Temple.
Okay.
Who also went down. So you killed 3 of the 5.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because like going forward, I don't know which ones... I always plan that Scummer will be the most likely to survive, but I never know... when I'm throwing these guys at you, how they're going to work like that.
Well, I mean, you can't control what happens.
Yeah, but I did like the idea of Scummer being the most, like, scheming and the one to, like, retreat and get away when the going gets tough. That's a good question, Fox. Someone Fox, remember the rest crew on the zoo cruise.
I mean, how much of a crew do we have?
Not much left. You had, like, a few people, but I think they're all dead, honestly. Like, at this point... They got killed like during some dramatic...
There was like 2 hobgoblins. I feel like there was one person that you wanted to be like an important NPC at one point. We just kept ignoring them. Was it the crazy guy?
Of my fucking life, I think.
Was it like a crazy guy?
There's always a crazy guy. I honestly don't know. There were a couple NPCs on the ship.
I feel like there was a couple NPCs on the ship that like you had introduced at some point as like,
okay,
hey, you can engage with this character as a named person.
Okay.
And we just
forgot about it. Yeah.
Or we forgot about it as a collective.
But there were probably like, 4 or 5 people on the ship, technically running the ship, but
yeah.
Yeah, I figure at that point collectively between the Driftwood docks and them being attacked on the water and then them crashing into the ship, they probably all just died. They're probably that, all honestly.
It's slightly depressing.
It's a slightly things got serious basically at the floating layer. So we had the combat ready guys jump down ready to attack.
All the people we could remember the names of survived though, or sort of survived. I guess what's her name?
Harley's
Harley's
unconscious. Same as your situation,
so.
basically. You guys get teleported, and you and Harley are both unconscious, which means we have to remember to roll your lingering injury next time.
Yes.
Save for it. So yeah, you guys are it's a tricky situation because this is one of those where we ended like right at the falling action. So we've got some cleanup to do basically at the start of next session, which is why I'm like, hey, we're not going to level up at the very start of the session because you guys just got deposited in an unknown location. You're not sure what the situation is. I'm banking on the fact that you guys obviously need a long rest as soon as possible.
Yeah, we got nothing left. We got nothing in the tank.
Yeah, literally like
we're all at like 10% health.
Yeah, at the most.
I don't know where Mac's at actually. I feel like Savra and Toro are both at like.
Savra and Toro have been at 10% health for like 2 sessions now. It's crazy. Mac is down to 25 hit points. So
I was at a solid 60% health for like the last 4 sessions.
Yep.
The fucking Savra came along with that walk.
Lightning Bolt did like almost 40 damage to you, I think, in the back.
Yeah.
And then, no, it wasn't the Fireball. I think it was Tentrix that finished you off, wasn't it, with his freaking Thunder Touch?
Yeah.
You were already down when that
the
Fireball
Lightning Bolt did 40, and then Tentrix did like 25, and that was it. Then I was done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I needed a Lightning or Thunder potion of resistance that I needed to remember to drink, but I don't have one.
Yeah, so that was a lot. That was definitely a record for all of our D&Ding campaigns where we had a single huge session where the battlefield changed and progressed and evolved over literally 3.5 sessions. We started this fight in session 47 and we ended it in session 50. And it took a full, like all of these were full sessions. Which means we also probably went a record without even short resting. Yeah, we last short rested in session 47 as well.
Yeah,
that's 3 sessions without even so much as a short rest. That's also pretty crazy.
I gotta go. Bye.
All right, man.
Bye.
I think we're going to wrap up this chat from the deep,
we're done.
as well. So thank you to Raven. I think you got Kid Aggro at the very end. Chris, thank you all the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.